Empty your mind. What the Buddha really taught about inner freedom. In today's busy world, many people feel overwhelmed by work, stress, and too much information. So when they hear advice like empty your mind, it often sounds like a good idea, a quick way to feel calm and peaceful. But we need to ask, is this what meditation, especially in Buddhism, really teaches? Or is it a modern misunderstanding that can actually lead us further away from real peace? A lot of people think emptying the mind means trying to get rid of all thoughts and feelings, like turning the mind into a blank screen. They believe that meditation is about forcing the mind to be completely silent. But this idea is not correct. In fact, it often causes more stress. People feel frustrated when they can't stop their thoughts and they think they are doing something wrong. Instead of becoming calmer, they feel worse. The Buddha never taught that we should shut down our minds or ignore what's happening inside us. The real meaning of emptying your mind in Buddhist practice is very different. It means letting go of mental habits that cause suffering, like greed, anger, worry, and clinging. These are the things that make our minds heavy and tired. When we understand this clearly, it changes everything. We stop fighting our thoughts and start seeing them with wisdom. We learn to let go, not by force, but by understanding. This is not just theory, it's something we can apply in daily life. The Buddha's teachings are simple, direct, and practical. They help us find peace and clarity, even in the middle of modern life. Why you can't force your mind to be empty. To really understand what empty your mind means in Buddhism, we need to clear up a basic misunderstanding, the idea that your mind is like a container you can simply pour out. In truth, the mind doesn't work like that. It's not a box. It's a living, moving process. Thoughts, emotions, memories, and intentions are always flowing, like a river that never stops. You can't just turn it off, no more than you can stop your heartbeat or hold your breath forever. Trying to force your mind to go completely blank is not just unrealistic, it often makes things worse. Many people try hard to shut down their thoughts during meditation, only to end up feeling more stressed or disappointed. The mind isn't broken just because it's active. It's simply doing what it's built to do: process, think, feel, and respond. Another common mistake is trying to empty the mind by pushing away negative thoughts and emotions. People often try to block out fear, anger, or sadness, thinking that ignoring these feelings will make them go away. But this usually backfires. When you suppress what you don't like, it doesn't disappear, it just goes deeper. And later, it comes back even stronger. Think about a time you tried not to think about something painful. Chances are, it kept coming up again and again. This is what happens when we push emotions down instead of facing them with understanding. Suppressed thoughts often show up later as anxiety, stress, or even physical illness. The Buddha taught that we cannot destroy mental defilements by hiding them. They need to be understood and let go, not buried. Modern psychology agrees with this. Studies show that suppressing thoughts and emotions can increase depression, harm relationships, and make people feel worse over time. So where does this confusion come from? Part of it comes from oversimplifying deep teachings. For example, the Buddhist idea of shunyata, or emptiness, doesn't mean the mind should be blank. It means things don't exist on their own. They are always changing, always connected to causes and conditions. But when emptiness is translated too simply as void, people think they have to erase everything from their minds. The same goes for nirvana. It's not about stopping all thoughts. It's about ending the causes of suffering, like greed, hatred, and ignorance. But in pop culture, nirvana is often shown as a peaceful state with no thoughts at all. This image is appealing, especially when we're stressed. But it's not what real practice is about. Even some popular ideas about meditation add to the confusion. Movies and books often show someone meditating in perfect silence, eyes closed, with no thoughts at all. This gives people the wrong impression that meditation means having an empty head. In reality, Buddhist meditation is not about creating a blank mind. It's about seeing clearly, not stopping thoughts. Mindfulness, for example, doesn't ask us to erase the mind. It teaches us to notice what's there, without judging, without fighting. We observe the mind just as it is. That's where real clarity and peace begin, not in a blank mind, but in an aware one. What emptying the mind really means. In Buddhism, the real meaning of emptying your mind has little to do with wiping thoughts away or forcing silence. Instead, it points to a deeper and more practical task: freeing the mind from the habits and inner forces that keep us caught in suffering. The Buddha taught that what truly weighs down the mind are not thoughts themselves, but certain powerful mental tendencies that quietly shape our actions and reactions. These are known as the three unwholesome roots: greed, hatred, and delusion. Greed is the constant craving for something more. It shows up as the desire for comfort, pleasure, approval, control, or material gain. In daily life, it drives much of our behavior without us even noticing. The more we chase after things we think will make us happy, the more restless we become. This is especially clear in today's world, where much of our attention is pulled outward, toward buying, comparing, performing, and proving. But even when we get what we want, satisfaction is short-lived. Something else always appears to chase next. The Buddha identified this endless craving, called tanha, as the root of suffering. It pulls us out of the present moment and makes peace feel just out of reach. Hatred, on the other hand, is the force that pushes away what we don't like. It can appear as anger, frustration, irritation, or subtle forms of rejection. When things don't go our way, when people challenge us, or when the world feels unfair, hatred often takes hold. This reaction may seem justified in the moment, but it always brings a cost. It stirs up inner tension, clouds our thinking, and feeds conflict with others. The mind becomes tight and closed. Rather than protecting us, hatred burns within us, keeping us from responding with balance and care. The Buddha didn't teach us to pretend anger isn't there, but to recognize it clearly and stop feeding it. Delusion is more hidden, but it runs deep. It is the confusion that keeps us from seeing things as they are. It shows up in the belief that we are separate, permanent, and in full control. It makes us cling to a fixed idea of me and mine, even though everything we experience is constantly changing. Because of this misunderstanding, we chase after pleasure and fight against pain, believing this will bring lasting happiness. But the self we're trying to protect is not solid. It's a moving process, not a fixed thing. Delusion leads us to look outside for answers, or to keep asking, "What's wrong with me?" without seeing that the question itself may be misguided. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to look more closely, not through abstract philosophy, but through calm, honest observation of the present moment. All three of these roots, greed, hatred, and delusion, are deeply connected. Delusion feeds greed and hatred by keeping us trapped in a false view of life and of ourselves. When we start to see through that confusion, the grip of the other two begins to loosen as well. This is the heart of what it means to empty the mind in the Buddhist sense. It doesn't mean creating a blank state. It means removing the burdens that make the mind heavy. It means knowing what's present in our experience without being pushed or pulled by it. This kind of emptying brings lightness, not numbness. It brings clarity, not silence. And it opens the door to a freedom that doesn't depend on getting rid of thoughts, but on seeing them clearly and letting go of what keeps us stuck. How the Buddha taught us to free the mind. To truly empty the mind of greed, hatred, and delusion, Buddhism offers a clear and practical path. This path is not vague or symbolic. It is concrete, structured, and deeply tested through experience. It is known as the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha's own guide for transforming the mind. Through this path, we don't aim to shut down thoughts or feelings, but to purify the mind at its root, so that wisdom and peace can naturally arise. The first step is to live ethically. This is called sila, a life grounded in right speech, right action, and right livelihood. When we live with integrity, we reduce inner conflict and guilt. The mind becomes lighter, more stable, and more ready to observe itself without distraction. A peaceful life makes space for a peaceful mind. From this stable ground, we begin to watch the mind carefully. This is right mindfulness, paying close attention to what is happening in each moment, without judgment or resistance. We notice thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations as they arise and pass. This kind of awareness helps us recognize the early signs of greed, hatred, and delusion without getting swept up in them. It gives us just enough space to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. As mindfulness strengthens, it naturally supports right concentration, the ability to keep the mind steady and focused. In a noisy, fast-paced world, the ability to calmly hold attention on a single object is powerful. It quiets the mental noise and creates the clarity needed to see deeply into the nature of the mind. With this focus, we can begin to observe our defilements not as fixed traits, but as temporary, shifting mental states. Out of this calm and steady mind, insight begins to grow. This is right wisdom, the understanding of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. We begin to see that greed, hatred, and delusion are not who we are. They are passing conditions. They come and go, like weather in the sky. When we see this clearly, we stop clinging to them. We no longer feel the need to fight or feed them. They lose their power, not because we forced them out, but because we understood them fully. As we apply these teachings again and again in our daily lives, something profound begins to shift. The mind no longer feels crowded or heavy. It feels open, spacious, and clear. This is not a blank or numb state. It is a mind that has been cleaned out, not emptied of thought, but emptied of confusion. Thoughts still arise. Emotions still come and go, but they no longer control us. They pass through, like clouds in a wide sky, without leaving a mark. We begin to respond to life with more calm, more clarity, and more care. This kind of mind becomes naturally strong and stable, It can meet difficulty without collapsing. It becomes less reactive, less impulsive, and more at peace with whatever arises. Freed from old habits, we act with more wisdom and more compassion. The mind, no longer burdened by the noise of craving and aversion, becomes a source of joy and strength, regardless of what is happening around us. This is the true meaning of emptiness in the Buddhist sense. Not a blank void, but a mind free from the weight of defilements. A mind that functions clearly, sees deeply, and feels deeply connected to all life. It is no longer trapped in the endless effort to defend or protect a fixed idea of self. When that illusion begins to dissolve, we experience a kind of freedom that cannot be given or taken away. This is the state of an arahant, someone who has fully let go of greed, hatred, and delusion. Their mind is truly empty in the highest sense, not empty of awareness, but empty of distortion. What remains is wisdom, compassion, and deep inner peace. Some arahants may even enter a special meditative state where mental activity fully stops for a time. But this is not death, nor is it the goal. It is simply one expression of a mind that has nothing left to cling to. So in the end, emptying your mind is not about shutting things out. It is about opening fully, seeing clearly, letting go deeply, and living with freedom and peace. The path may be quiet, but it is not passive. It calls for courage, patience, and honesty. But the reward is real. A mind that is light, clear, and fully alive. This is the promise of the Buddha's path. It is not based on belief, but on experience. You don't have to accept anything on faith. You can test it in your own life. You can begin simply by paying attention, by noticing, by watching the mind as it is. From that simple act, the whole path unfolds.